evening and welcome back to this special broadcast. It's time to get you the exit polls and we're going to be bringing to you the projections being made by multiple pollsters. The first set is on your screens right now. This is what the C voter is projecting for the state of Bihar. C voter is projecting a hung assembly, if you are to see, and pretty much both the MGB and the NDA getting similar number of votes. Of course, they are giving a slight edge to the Mahagathbandhan than the NDA. And if you consider the range, then a bigger edge to the Mahagathbandhan than the NDA. Not much change as far as LJP's fortunes are concerned, as far as C voters' projections are concerned. We're going to try and go across to Aarti in just a bit to also take you through these numbers and analyze those numbers for us, but wafer thin margin effectively for them. I just also want to talk about the vote share projections that have come in for them, and the vote share projection for BJP stands at 20.4%. Vote share projected for JDU is 15%. Vote share projection for RJD is 22.9%. Congress at number 4 with 9.4%. Actually, if you consider the others, they have a larger vote share of about 17.5% coming in. This doesn't include the LJP or even the left parties, obviously, because they are in the MGB. So this is as far as the numbers are concerned. Quick comment from Mr. Sanjay Singh. Your own sense about this?
See, in terms of vote percentage that you are talking about, the RJD in best of times was 28-29%, worst of time 22-23%, which is the case now. But in this particular case, if 22-23% is correct, then RJD is contesting far less seats than last time. It contested around 100 seats, actually 100 seats, and this time 143 or something. So that's a good polling percentage for RJD, but RJD's support base is that of MY, and they roughly constitute that much of voter percentage, and these are the people who actually also during his campaign were very active, very vocal. That's a very aggressive community, and their voting percentage is much higher than any other community's voting percentage. So I'm not surprised at that voting percentage. That could actually be true. That should be in fact true, because that is their social base. If RJD were to do substantially better, this voting percentage perhaps should have gone higher, because it is contesting on 143 seats. The Congress was a baggage for the RJD, much in same way as I consider in UP. Congress was a baggage for SP, and SP of course did not do well. That's another story. But here slightly better poised, but that is not adding value to if these figures are going to be anywhere close to the final tally.
So Congress, we had a conversation earlier about how many seats they gave to the Congress to fight on and whether that was a bad call. Vinay, so you first and then the others. Bases this projection that Congress, if it manages to win 25 of the 70, what would you say?
Yeah, look, I mean, personally, I think irrespective of the numbers, both BJP and RJD seem to have missed a trick.
Yeah, giving too much to their partners?
I think the BJP gave too much to the RJD. Now that, in hindsight, you can see that they're dragging them down, and so has the RJD. If the RJD had given less than 70 to the Congress, maybe 40 or 50, they would have done better. That's personally my sense. And I think this will also even out the bit of the battle to some extent, right? Because both sides have a partner who's turning out to be a bit of an albatross. Now, who's the bigger albatross is the question.
May I add something to what Binay said? See, that gives an indication of a situation what Tejasvi was about his confidence level about a month back when he gave 70 seats to Congress. He was not then so confident. As the election progressed, Nitish Kumar of course made few mistakes, and the kind of turnout started playing out at his rallies. Then he became confident. If this was the case, he would have not given more than 30-40 seats or maximum 50 seats.
That's true.
Much less, I suppose, to the Congress. And same way, the BJP gave 11 seats to Mukesh Sahni's party, VIP.
Yeah.
Somebody who was thrown out of Mahagathbandhan, and same way Jitan Ram Manjhi. Beyond himself as a candidate, I am not sure whether Jitan Ram Manjhi himself wins or loses, and rest his family. So that again was kind of a disproportionate share given to VIP and to Manjhi's.
Let me just add one sentence to what Sanjay is saying, which will gladden Tuhin. Most of our teams who have gone out have found very few people who were angry with Narendra Modi. Very few. There were hardly anybody who expressed anger at the center. They were all very openly angry at Nitish Kumar, but hardly anybody said he's not done anything.
Which was the case with Devendra Fadnavis
which was
or
the case,
Vasundhara Raje.
absolutely. So they were very happy. In fact, I get reminded of the Rajasthan election, where they started talking about Vasundhara, and as opposed to Modi. They said कि Vasundhara तुझे तेरी खैर नहीं और मोदी से कोई बैर नहीं.
But then Vasundhara in Rajasthan, just one line. In Rajasthan, initially people expected that BJP was not going to get anywhere more than 40-50 seats, and final tally was much higher. So BJP, there is something to cheer for BJP. I don't know how much Nitish can actually pull the cart.
So, Modi ji today reflects a larger work culture, which percolates down to every state unit and to every karyakarta. So even the work which has happened during the COVID, while the COVID was at its peak, I don't think there has been a parallel to it anywhere in the world. For example, BJP karyakartas across the country were out helping people with food, and even when it comes to the government, the fact that 80 crore people were given free ration for almost 6 or 7 months, I'm sure, I don't know whether that is still on, but at least I know for a fact because I had gone to, to Karjat in one of these September weekends. And I spoke to a villager who actually confessed, and I was very surprised that that they have been receiving regular ration for the last 6 months, and which is the story across the country. So even during the COVID times, the work which BJP has done, largely the centre has done, I think would work in favour of the BJP, because that credibility, that work ethics which BJP brings, irrespective of who the leader is in the state party, always serves as a benefit, as an advantage for the BJP. And I'm sure the damage, whatever damage which the projections show right now, would be circumvented. So ideally, just one second, ideally if there had been a 20 to 20% vote share for both of these dispensations, BJP and that would be a winning combination. At this point of time, the projection by C voter, I guess, is 16% or just marginally short of 16% for JDU. Now that 16.1%, that definitely is a cause of worry, but I'm sure, BJP would pull it up, and that would somewhere be in the range of 18 to 19%, which should bring the combination closer to.
So, okay. Let me also say good evening to Narendranath Mishra, political reporter for Navbharat Times, joining us this evening. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Mishra, I want to bring up another point and, get some comments going on that, which is RJD, if it is projected to get 85, that's not a significant gain from what they managed the last time around. Now, everybody was talking about this, huge crowds that were being pulled in by Tejaswi, and a lot of conversation that became about Tejaswi Yadav. That doesn't seem to be translating into these projections. Do you believe RJD could probably get more?
No, if you see on the base of the number, this is 81, 85, 82, 90 is a very good number for RJD. If you're comparing with the number of 2015, 2015, that time RJD was with Nitish Kumar. And Nitish Kumar has got very handsome votes here in Bihar. And this time, either be left or Congress, they are below 10% party in Bihar. So looking at the combination, this is RJD alone fighting with BJP and JDU. So in present context, anything above 80 is a very good performance by RJD.
Okay. Mr. Sanjay Singh, would you agree? Because if we see, and like Narendra is saying, the difference is that that time they were with JDU, so they managed that huge number. They were the single largest party. Even then, they haven't gained too much from there.
See, 2015 elections was a unique election in the sense, Mohan Bhagwat's remarks, rightly or wrongly interpreted, did great deal of damage for BJP. And that was also an election which BJP lost. Perhaps it was never going to win those elections with the claims that was being made, but certainly great loss in terms of number of seats and also in voting percentage. Then another factor which weighed, Lalu Yadav made that particular remark as a Agra Pichra, and Lalu was never circumspect about talking about Agra Pichra. Then Nitish Kumar has created a constituency of his own, that is of EBCs and Mahadalits and also women. So that constituency combined with Lalu's MY constituency, that kind of worked very well with that particular team. BJP actually was part of the Nitish Kumar's government till Nitish Kumar very unceremoniously threw BJP out of his government. And one fine night, BJP was out of the government, thrown out on street. And therefore, BJP couldn't actually say that Nitish Kumar was then wrong, उसने गलत किया और बहुत वो किया और हमारे पास ये candidate है. Vis-a-vis Nitish and Lalu, BJP also did not have leader of that stature. So 2015 was entirely different election. In a way, interpret it in a different manner. If you see that that was most difficult election for the BJP, BJP scored about 53, 54, got 53, 54 seats.
Yeah.
And the BJP again in those elections had made a huge mistake by giving some 30, 40, around 40 seats to Jitanram Manjhi.
Correct.
Thinking that you'd pull Dalit vote. He won only one. Same was Upendra Kushwaha's party. Kushwaha managed, I think, 2 seats. And same with LJP, Vilas Paswan, of course, then was very much alive and a very prominent leader, 43 seats to LJP. They won only 2.
Correct.
So therefore, this was a very peculiar situation. And if BJP could get those numbers in 2015, I'm sure that number would be much higher this time.
Okay.
And I also believe, as some people say, that what happens if BJP had gone alone? Say, that's an entirely different situation now. But I would also say that Nitish Kumar still retains some of his charm in EBC, and where he actually is losing the kind of comments he made during COVID times. Those were very insensitive comments.
There was also this criticism that he wasn't even visible.
He was not visible. He has not been connecting with people for a long time. And more so, when you say that log ko ghusne nahi denge, border pe rok lenge, when in neighboring state, Yogi Adityanath was seen to be doing so much
sending
for
the
his
buses
people.
to get everybody back home.
Precisely. Then you say कि कोटा में बड़े लोग के अमीर घर के बच्चे जाते हैं. And those remarks were actually what has balanced that is that food scheme that Tuhin was talking, that free ration scheme, center's free ration scheme, that has reached, to my understanding, to every home which needs it. So that is going to counterbalance that particular thing to a bit. But then of course, that fatigue factor.
So the point that you've raised, and I have often wondered of why Nitish has tackled some of these situations the way he has. The fact that he was, for the longest time opposing sending the migrants back home. That's the fact that he didn't take steps like his other counterparts to bring them back home. The fact that he wasn't visible. And in fact, even amongst the NDA chief ministers, perhaps the only one who wasn't out there visible. Many of the other chief ministers managed to even contract COVID for that reason, because they were out there working, holding meetings, which Nitish was criticized about. And similarly, whether it was floods, you saw Tejasvi jump at that opportunity, get out there, at least be visible to the people. Narendranath Mishra, what's your own sense? Why did Nitish choose to handle these situations in this manner?
If you see about the ground reports, everyone talking about the COVID. But what I found, जो ground पे जो सबसे बड़ा issue था, वो जो COVID एक ऊपर से जो लग रहा है, but that was the local corruption. Local corruption, biggest issue जो नीतीश को जो back कर रहा है, जो नीतीश facing the huge anti-incumbency, the COVID plus added with the local corruption. अगर brand Nitish is hammered, that is due to the local थानेदार and the local officers. सब कुछ पैसे से काम होता है. Even मरने के लिए हमको पैसा लगता है. ये voice बिहार से everyone talking about the, और ऊपर कोई सुनवाई नहीं होती है. Even the people, अगर आप बिहार में शराबबंदी अगर देखें तो everyone home delivery. हर गांव में एक रात में ऑटो लग जाता है, वहां से बिना नंबर प्लेट की और लोग होम डिलीवरी कर रहे हैं. एंड पीपल टॉकिंग अबाउट द सारा थाना को पता है, आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं. कंप्लेन करने जाएंगे तो आपको जेल भेज दिया जाएगा. हर गांव में 10, 15, 20 लोग जेल में हैं. तो एक जगह मैं मधुबनी में था, वहां पूछा जंगल राज से आप डरते नहीं हो? तो बोला 15 साल पहले की बात छोड़िए, ये तो 15 दिन पहले जो हुआ है वो क्या जंगल राज नहीं है? उस गांव से 10 लोगों को थाने ने उठा लिया था. तो द लोकल थाना एंड द सीओ, द लोकल ऑफिसर्स, सीओ, वीडियो, कोई भी इवन जो सेंट्रल स्कीम्स हैं उसमें बिना कट कमीशन के कोई काम नहीं हो रहा है. एंड द बिगेस्ट कंप्लेंट विद नीतीश कुमार की ऊपर कोई सुनवाई नहीं होती है. एंड चूंकि बिकॉज ऊपर सुनवाई नहीं होती, इवन जो कोविड में जो डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर जो कैश दिया गया उसके लिए पैसा, जब तक आप पैसा नहीं देंगे तब तक आपको वो ट्रांसफर नहीं होगा, इन ऑल सच कंप्लेन। ये लोकल करप्शन बिगेस्ट इशू इस पूरे इलेक्शन में था, जो इसलिए हुआ कि इस चेन को, जो नेक्सस जो बन गया चेन, उसे तोड़ना ही है। दैट वाज अ थीम। इसीलिए जो बदलाव, जो थीम आया फ्रॉम देयर कि ऊपर से लेकर नीचे तक एक बड़ा नेक्सस हो गया एंड वी वांट टू ब्रेक दैट चेन। एंड उससे नीतीश का धीरे धीरे, और कोविड में वो हाइप हो गया और लोग उसको एसेस नहीं कर पाए, एंड नीतीश एक्चुअली में ये एसेस नहीं कर पाएंगे। एक जो 15 साल का जो फैटिग होता है, जो बता रहे थे कुछ लोग, तो फैटिग था एंड वो उनको लगा नहीं वो उतना बड़ा नहीं, एट द एंड ऑफ द डे वी विल बी थ्रू।
वो एसेस नहीं कर पाए संजय जी, या वो बच रहे थे?
उसमें what he is saying, add two things about nashabandi, about prohibition. See, everybody knew that in no state prohibition has succeeded. It was a demand, but then again it was a situation whereby in when it was actually prohibited, he announced prohibition. Desi Daru Theka was opened in every nook and corner, in almost every village. So not just women, also senior citizens were very angry about it. When that happened, it was a huge loss for state's revenue. Bihar in any case always has revenue crunch. And secondly, these bootlegging and corruption and smuggling, that was going to happen in any case. That has happened in any case. What has actually happened, that women folk who were then very enthused and excited about it are now actually angry about it. At least a good section of them, that this is actually a drain on whatever money that is earned by the family, because you are paying higher money, and also the man is getting drunk and doing same thing as he was doing earlier. And more so, they can't now complain, because if you complain, then whole family goes to jail.
And lakhs of them ended up in jail. That became even a bigger problem.
और बाकी दारू जो है वो चूहे भी पी जाते हैं, वो मतलब thousands of bottles चूहे भी पी जाते हैं. Second thing which Narenji was talking, and perhaps not in those clear terms, I would go straight on those terms. See, two things happened in the run-up to polls. Ahead of first phase of polling, you did a show on Munger killing. That happening, and I'm not sure whether Nitish actually needed to counter what Yogi Adityanath said. Did he actually need to go for that? Because that polling was going to happen in Simanchal area.
Correct.
Yogi Adityanath had not talked about NRC, he had talked about CA. See, technically, Yogi was within his limitations and within whatever framework, and he was not off the mark, so to say.
But that's just a technicality. On ground, people are not able to differentiate.
Yes, and therefore, elections is about that.
Correct.
About mobilizing your support base, about polarizing, if not polarizing, perhaps is a politically wrong term because people interpret in a different manner. So did he actually need to, because that creates a confusion between that strong support base of whatever that is of the BJP, and also confusion among Karyakartas at the ground level. And in any case, the other side was very much kind of getting consolidated in favor of RJD, Mahagathbandhan, and also a MIM presence, of course, is there in that.
So, Mr. Singh, in fact, on that note, because you mentioned that and you say that he did not need to contradict that at all, or
I'm not sure whether that was a smart move.
Let's also bring in the phase-wise projections.
He's clearing that for posterity, for the record, that his conscience was very clear.
For his own conscience, maybe. Let's see. Let's also bring out the phase-wise projections that have been made, and then get our experts to, tell us a little bit more about how they see this performance party-wise. Aarti is standing by with that data. Aarti?
Okay, Tanvi, we have the seawater projections for the phase-wise of polling as well. Now, it's interesting to see because the RJD has polled very well in all three phases according to the seawater poll. The RJD, which is also supposed to be performing well in the third phase, which is their stronghold, has done well. In phase 1 seat share, the JDU's got 11, the BJP 17, the RJD 29, Congress 7, LJP has not managed to poll any. In the second phase, if you have a look at that, again, it's been it's been pretty uniform for the RJD, 29 seats for them, for the JDU 22, for the BJP 31. The second phase is where the BJP has performed the best. The second phase was described as a make or break phase, so they've done pretty well in the second phase. The Congress has polled 6 as well. Phase 3, which is the Simanchal region, which went to polls today, we've seen a greater polarization in this phase. In that, the BJP has got 11, the JDU 24. The RJD has done really well here, but an overall takeaway is the RJD has performed universally well in all 3 phases. The BJP has done well in the second phase.
Okay, so the BJP seems to have done well in the second phase, where BJP, plus that I'm looking at, is projected to get about 31 of the seats of the 94 that went to poll in phase 2. Aarti, thanks so much for breaking that down for us as well. And the RJD actually, like Aarti was pointing out, performing well through the 3 phases. Projected to get 29, 29 and 27 in all of the, each of these phases.
In first phase, Tanvi, JDU is contesting much more seats than the BJP.
In
first phase.
In first phase. So JDU is projected to win only 11, while the BJP is projected to win 17.
Losses are huge for JDU out there.
Yes. Tuhin, do these numbers reflect what perhaps Nitish Kumar already knew and BJP already knew, which is why he wasn't being projected as the lead phase, but it was, and not even on BJP's posters, because they kind of knew he's going to drag them down.
Nitish ji has a very understated working style, which he carries a certain idealism which people don't relate with anymore.
Which is to switch sides whenever,
which is probably
basis where you get the power?
No, that idealism probably exists only in his mind. Because Nasha Bandi today, of all things, I mean, even that idealism may have worked in the time of Morarji Desai. But today, when you implement it, and if the results are not showing, and if the results are actually counterproductive, then the fact that a leader should be prepared to relook that is something which was not seen in him. Similarly, I don't think he meant ill when he spoke about people not coming into Bihar during when COVID crisis was at its peak. But today, people expect a slightly more response-driven leader, a leader who's more responsive and more flexible to the situation, which is what I think he was not able to project. I think that is what has impacted the support base of JDU, and in a way, also had an adverse impact on the coalition.
Let's quickly, before we get the next set, and that's getting ready, let's quickly discuss the Chirag Paswan or the LJP factor. Narendra, let's start with you. Basis the C voter projections, they're projected to get 1 seat, they're projected to get 8.5% as vote share. What was the whole Paswan factor gamble about, and has that worked?
Chirag's 1-point agenda was to defeat Nitish, and as per opinion poll, exit poll, ये हो रहा है. But जहाँ पे चिराग and BJP जो assess नहीं कर पाई, the collateral damage BJP को भी हुआ. That the Chirag factor missed in the NDA alliance. JDU and BJP cadre सेकेंड फेज आते आते कंप्लीटली दोनों डिफरेंट ऑल टुगेदर अपोजिट हाउस की तरह हो गई. राइट फ्रॉम भागलपुर टू समस्तीपुर इन दोनों को कैडर ने एक दूसरे को वोट नहीं किया कई जगह पे, एंड दैट वाज द चिराग फैक्टर वेयर वो मेजर स्पॉइलर ये एनडीए के लिए हो रहा है. खुद तो नहीं बन रहे हैं, बट जो एनडीए को लगा स्पेशली कि वो बीजेपी में सिर्फ वो जेडीयू को डैमेज करेंगे, बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे वो बीजेपी भी कोलैटरल डैमेज चिराग के इस इलेक्शन में एग्रेसिवली आने से हुई. वो
ये कहा जा रहा था कि बीजेपी के ही जो फॉर्मर कैंडिडेट्स हैं या नेता हैं उनको टिकट दिए गए एलजेपी के नाम पे. आरएसएस का काडर पूरी मदद कर रहा था एलजेपी की कैंपेनिंग के समय. तो फिर भी आप कह रहे हैं कि नुकसान बीजेपी को हो गया.
अगर नुकसान कर रहा था जो फ्रॉम बीजेपी ऑल एंड अलोन, बीजेपी को भी नीतीश के वोट पे डिपेंड करना है. जो अति पिछड़ा वोट है तो ईबीसी वो नीतीश का कोर वोट अभी भी इलेक्शन में दे रहे हैं नीतीश के नाम पर. तो दैट वोट जो अगर बीजेपी के अगर बगल वाली सीट पे बीजेपी के वोटर एलजेपी को दे रहे हैं ऑन जेडीयू सीट्स, तो वो उसका असर तो वाइस वर्सा रिएक्शन तो होगा. उसका रिएक्शन हुआ. यू सॉ भागलपुर में उनके एमपी, भागलपुर में एमपी अजय मंडल द जेडीयू एमपी का वोट टेप वायरल हुआ कि जहां वो अपील कर रहे थे कि डोंट वोट फॉर बीजेपी कैंडिडेट, कि उनके साथ तो हमारा ठीक नहीं है। वो पूरा उस इलाके में वो इलेक्शन से 2 दिन पहले काफी वायरल हुआ, सब जगह वो टेप चला और उसके लिए बाद में बीजेपी को डैमेज कंट्रोल में आना पड़ा। तो ये इस लेवल पे, ग्राउंड लेवल पे कई जगह पे कंफ्यूजन थी। अगर एक सीट पे कोई बीजेपी का कैडर एलजेपी को दे रहा है तो ठीक बगल वाली सीट पर वो कैसे वो एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे कि जेडीयू का कैडर उसी एनर्जी के साथ बीजेपी को देगा। सो यहाँ पे कोलैटरल डैमेज भी बीजेपी को कई सारी सीटों पर हमने ग्राउंड पे देखा कि वो हो रहा था।
इसको इसीलिए हम कह रहे थे पासवान कनंड्रम, और ये जो ऑन द फेस ऑफ इट मुझे तो लगता है वोटर के लिए भी कंफ्यूजिंग है, पर अगर आप मे बी यू हैव अ डिफरेंट व्यू ऑन इट वेयर यू अटैक वन पार्टनर एंड बैक द अदर वन एंड से कि मैं हनुमान हूँ और मेरे अंदर मोदी जी बसे हुए हैं, हाउ डज दैट वर्क ऑन ग्राउंड?
See, Tejaswi he is a young energetic man, but also is hyper ambitious, and that ambition is very overt, and that often does not work in politics. Tejaswi, in the sense, he started moving in that direction very early. The problem actually, Tejaswi spiced up these elections to begin with, an election which was generally considered slightly insipid. But then Tejaswi also was playing to both.
Tejaswi or Chirag?
Sorry, Chirag.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Chirag Paswan was also playing to both sides. See, for example, he puts up a candidate in Raghupur, from where Tejaswi Yadav is a candidate. Against Tejaswi Yadav, somebody who defeated Rabri Devi is the candidate from this side, from BJP side. And JDU is not contesting there, and then he of course was the candidate who is now on BJP's side, if I'm correct. He is now on BJP's side, and he is a strong candidate. Now he puts up a candidate of a caste which is very strong there, Chirag Paswan. So obviously the perception is that there's something happening between Tejaswi and Chirag also.
Correct.
That thing is also going out. It also cannot happen that you target one political, one partner, also the sitting chief minister, and you say that मैं मोदी का सीना फाड़ के देखो वो अंदर मोदी जी हैं और ये है. That actually does not work. The thing that in any case LJP never had a mass support base. Paswan's personal persona was much larger than what the presence of his party on the ground. And now he is no more, but he of course was a great leader. So Paswan always had this 3-4% votes towards his side. He would act as a catalyst in making somebody win or lose when voting percentage was narrow with his 3-4% or 2-3% voters. But on its own, LJP be a winning factor, I had always had my doubts. More so, people moving the rebels from BJP, some very prominent ones, somebody who was projected as or being talked about as future Chief Minister of Bihar in 2015 elections. Sangathan Mahasachiv from Jharkhand. So him switching over to LJP was a big news. So were some other prominent state leaders, and therefore it was generally a narrative was built that something was happening, BJP was consciously putting up. That of course was never happening. So BJP had to kind of waste a lot of energy in saying that he is not with us, vote against him, he is vote Katwa, and so on and so forth. So all in all, if these figures are going to be, and I assume that this would be true, where I see the contrast. In Mahagathbandhan, there is a player called CPIML,
yes,
which has a very strong in pockets. That party has strong support base, and that would act as a force multiplier. In this case, some of the parties I had mentioned before, VIP and HAM, are, you know what.
So let me, dig into history and tell you a story which would explain Chirag Paswan's present behavior. In 2005, Vilas Paswan, weather specialist as he is known, had an excellent chance of becoming the CM of Bihar, which he squandered away that opportunity. How? I'll tell you, Nitish Kumar, in fact, at one point has proposed his name to be the CM as the joint candidate for JDU, BJP and LJP. Now, in those days, Vilas Paswan had just stepped out of NDA 2 years prior to that, after 2002. And he thought it's better to be a minister in UPA than go back to the NDA. So he squandered away that opportunity. In fact, he played a similar trick that Chirag is doing right now. He contested against RJD on a record number of, I think, 177, 180 seats, while being with the RJD in the cabinet of Manmohan Singh. And again, after the results, it was a hung assembly. In the first,
in that election, LJP and Congress were together. Bangla and Hath. His LJP's election symbol is.
Also, it's different when Ram Vilas Paswan.
But I'll just complete that story. I'll tell you the friction between LJP and Nitish Kumar starts from there.
Yeah.
Because LJP ended up winning 29 seats, and it was a hung assembly. There were 2 elections in 2005. It was a hung assembly. He could have still been the kingmaker or possibly the king. He refused that opportunity. By the time the next elections were held 6 months later to get rid of that hung assembly, 22 of those 29 MLAs had been pushed by Nitish Kumar, and he was just left with 7 MLAs. And for the next 7 or 8 years, he went through a phase of political hibernation, or a very low phase, till Chirag stepped in and reworked the alignment and had LJP come back to NDA. So I think the friction between the Paswans and Nitish Kumar have existed from that point of time. Secondly, it's a very peculiar situation in coalition politics. You need to balance your individual ambitions also. Now, in the last elections, in a different scenario, LJP got 42 seats. They contested 42 seats. Of course, the conversion rate has always been low. They ended up winning 2 seats. Now, for them to accept anything short of 40 seats this time would have been virtually, digging their own grave, or would have been actually harming their own party. So, unless the 3 parties, BJP, JDU and LJP, let's suppose, got together and agreed upon contesting 140 seats, 140 for the LJP, a coalition was virtually impossible. So what Chirag has done is basically repeated the trick of Ram Vilas Paswan in 2005, going against Lalu while staying with Sonia Gandhi. But again, like I said, conversion ratio has always been a problem for LJP, mainly because when you only have around 4% or 5% of your caste votes, and you depend upon the Modi factor over here, for that, you need to enjoy your own credibility, which unfortunately at this point of time, Chirag does not have.
Okay. Now let's get to an interesting question about the numbers as are being projected. And Narendra, let's start with you. If we are to go by this range, which gives a slightly more edge to the Mahagathbandhan, but maybe not clearly, if you take the median, they're not reaching halfway mark, they may or may not. To your mind, if both the alliances get really close to the halfway mark, but neither of them make it, who has a better chance of getting there first? And जोड़ तोड़ करके यहाँ वहाँ से खींच के कौन पहले पहुँचे?
अभी के circumstances में बीजेपी interested बिल्कुल नहीं होगी गवर्नमेंट बनाने में. They will go for the president rule.
Okay. आप ऐसा क्यों कह रहे हैं?
RJD के पास नंबर नहीं आ सकता है अगर वो होगा. But I strongly think कि अलायंस को मेजॉरिटी अपने पर मिल जाएगा. As for अभी जो ट्रेंड दिख रहा है एग्जिट पोल का, वो सस्टेन करेगा एंड दे विल क्रॉस 122 मार्क्स.
आप कह रहे हैं कि एनडीए को मिल जाएगा या
नहीं गठबंधन
को मिल जाएगा अपने आप से?
यस.
ओके, संजय सिंह, योर व्यू.
See, I generally don't predict in terms of numbers.
Yeah. So I'm not saying numbers. Let's just say both of them are close enough.
See,
which one has better political acumen to get across the finish line?
See, I think in that case, Mahagathbandhan would have a greater chance. I tell you why. Because Nitish Kumar, if he returns as Chief Minister, he is generally stiff and in certain cases is also an idealist in some cases. So he won't allow Mukesh Sahni or Jitan Ram Manjhi or somebody else to kind of make hard bargain with him. Like he was talking about 2005, and 2005 that Bihar government fell for the good ultimately for Nitish Kumar and for the NDA, because he was not willing to talk to the MLAs, independents and others who had won. So in this case, if Tejasvi becomes chief minister, then these guys would be better placed to bargain with him, and for 5 years, next 5 years, I don't want to comment on what they might want to do or might happen in the state. So in that particular case, he would be better poised.
Okay.
And in that case, BJP also may leave as to do whatever you want to do and let people make their own opinion. The other thing is that, what I'm saying, that if Nitish Kumar, that is my hunch, if Nitish Kumar manages to get around 50 seats, then NDA is home.
Then NDA is home. Yeah. Vinay, what is your own sense? Basis this, which of the alliances will be better at moving faster and, you know, playing the right trick?
My answer is very clear. You will not need this Jodhpur at all.
You still believe Mahagathbandhan?
It will absolutely be a clear verdict. There's no question
make it through.
Yeah. I mean, clear verdict for a coalition, obviously. I don't think you will come to a situation where they will even have to consider a president's rule.
Correct.
I am going only purely by historical, sociological behavior, where certain parties tend to get underestimated in exit polls and some parties tend to get overestimated in opinion polls. So I don't see that as a factor at all. I also believe that I have a slight disagreement over lots of issues that were discussed, a short while back. I disagree that there is a historical animosity between Nitish and Paswan to that extent, and I'll tell you why. Bihar's socialist movement had 3 products. I'm taking 3 in the contemporary sense. One was Nitish, of course, one was Lalu, and also Paswan. All 3 parts of the same movement. The best electoral performance that Paswan ever managed was 20 seats, which I think was in 2000, if I remember correctly. But if you see, Paswan was very content in playing whatever role, the Mausa Vaigyanik's role that he wanted to play at the center. He never played the state politics. I think he understood the limitations of his influence being in a very confined region, and he knew that he would never really become a state leader. He will be a sub-regional leader in Bihar who can only be somebody who will support or prop somebody depending on which way the wind is. So I don't see, Nitish even saw him as a threat to his ascendancy as the overarching leader of Bihar. Unlike Lalu, who for instance had a larger presence in Bihar, and so did Nitish. I mean, they had a much wider base, so to speak. Paswan never really had that base. I think in this case, and I must say this, Tuhin will disagree with me on this, I think BJP was caught trying to be too clever by half. I cannot believe Chirag has done this on his own volition. There is absolutely no question that he was playing this game on his own. The BJP wanted him to play this game. It was very apparent. It's apparent in the seat distribution. It's apparent in the fact on how much the BJP attacked Chirag personally, at least at the start. They tried recalibrating it midway, but it didn't. By then, probably it was too late. And also, if you see the local BJP leaders, who in many cases were actually, some of them were rebels who didn't get the tickets, who were fielded by them. And BJP is such a powerful party and such a shrewd political party that if they had sensed it and if they hadn't blessed this particular arrangement, they would have been able to stop it. Chirag is a novice. He is a political greenhorn. His father was a veteran. They would have found it very easy to stop him if they really had to.
Chirag is an ambitious guy, and when an ambitious guy, we knew he would not settle for less than 40 seats, which is what he contested in 2015. Now, in this situation, if he had a clear solution, he wanted to go ahead this way. Probably we did not do the extra effort to stop him.
Here is a man who, there is a chief minister which the party president and the party's prime minister, the nation's prime minister, has openly endorsed, which is Nitish Kumar. That man is being openly attacked by one of your partners at the center day in, day out, to the extent that he's saying, unko jail bhej dena chahiye. And yet, in at least 4 or 5 rallies, the Prime Minister opened by paying his homage to Mr. Vilas Paswan. He could have just ignored that. He didn't have to say it. The fact of the matter is that the BJP never attacked Chirag to the extent they should have, probably not as consistently. I think they started calibrating it halfway through or maybe towards the 3rd phase. But in the first phase or before the first phase, they didn't do that. And I think that was, the strategy was clear. They were obviously trying to weaken Nitish Kumar. There's no question about that. But my argument is they didn't need to weaken him. He was already weak. They really didn't have to make much effort to make Nitish Kumar diminish in his stature that he seems to have acquired in the last 15 years. He would have ended up poorly in any case. I also think that BJP missed a trick. I know that you're saying the social welfare schemes worked well, and I agree with you. They've extended till November, and that seems to have worked. But I think the BJP missed the trick in understanding the emotive value of the reverse migration in the first 3 weeks of the mayhem that happened. They missed a trick there. They should have understood that Bihar is a state that sends almost 3 million migrants elsewhere. The first 3 weeks, they dilly-dallied, they did not do enough on it, and by then the damage was done because people had either started walking back home or they were paying through their nose to figure out any transport they could. So this migration was not just an economic issue, it's an emotional issue. People were emotionally upset about neither being in the Janbhoomi nor being in the Karmbhoomi. And I think that has hung very heavy on the coalition.
Tuhin, I want Narendra also to respond to this, but first you.
But anyway, I mean, like in hindsight, since it was COVID was a novel crisis, one can always, look at it in hindsight and say that this could have been better. But I'm sure when you're on 10th, the need for this discussion will not arise because we will end up with 135 seats.
Narendra, आपका response जो पहले विनय कह रहे थे कि ये हो ही नहीं सकता कि बीजेपी की ब्लेसिंग के बिना ये हुआ हो, तो ये बीजेपी का गैम्बल है जो पासवान के साथ गलत पड़ गया।
वही मैं उसी कंटिन्यू कर रहा हूँ। मैं कंप्लीटली एग्री करता हूँ कि बीजेपी कंप्लीटली इस एसेस नहीं कर पाई। बीजेपी वेरी मच दो जगह एसेस जो मैं कह रहा हूँ कि नंबर 1 कि नीतीश के प्रति इतना बड़ा एंगर है वो एसेस नहीं कर पाई वो कि इतना होगा कि वोट आउट कर देगी और इवन जो लालू के जंगल राज को डर दिखा के एट द एंड ऑफ द डे हम सेफ हो जाएंगे। एंड दूसरा जो व्हाट सेड कि चिराग का जो इस तरह से रेबेलियन अप्रोच होगा उससे जेडीयू तो डैमेज हो गई है, उनको वो इशू नहीं है, बट हम इसके कोलेटरल डैमेज होंगे ये बीजेपी एसेस नहीं कर पाएगी। एक सिंपल अर्थमेटिक इन लोगों का था कि जैसे ही चिराग अलायंस से निकले 120 सीट्स दोनों के लिए ओपन हो गए और 120 में हम अराउंड 90-100 जीत लेंगे जो शुरू से ही कहा जा रहा था और जेडीयू 30-40 तो लेगी, 30 लेगी तो ये 140 हमारे होंगे जिसमें 100 हमारे होंगे एंड प्रैक्टिकली हमारी गवर्नमेंट हो जाएगी। लेकिन कोलेटरल डैमेज बीजेपी को होगा ये बीजेपी बिल्कुल एसेस नहीं कर पाई। मैं इसी कंटिन्यू कर रहा हूं कि आपको याद होगा जब सीट शेयरिंग की बात आ रही थी तो एलजेपी नॉट 40, एलजेपी ने मुझे इंटरव्यू में चिराग ने कहा था कि वो 28 सीट्स तक एग्री था। उसके तक 28 सीट्स दो एंड बाकी 2 सीट्स मुझे राज्यसभा दे दो, मुझे एमएलसी 2 दे दो, तो वो एकोमोडेट करने के लिए रेडी था। लेकिन अचानक सडनली हो गया कि वो 28 सीट्स डाइल्यूट हो गया और 140 हम लड़ेंगे, सिर्फ जेडीयू के खिलाफ लड़ेंगे और बीजेपी कंप्लीट चुप। वो जब नीतीश ने कंप्लीटली बोलो तब जाकर बीजेपी ने 1-2 बार बड़ा सिंबॉलिक तरीके से बोल दिया और रैली में भी, पूरी रैली में भी जैसे पीएम ने या टॉप लीडर किसी ने इस बारे में नहीं कहा। तो ये जो कंफ्यूजन हुआ वो एट द एंड ऑफ द डे बीजेपी भी सफर कर रही है और कई सीटों पे जैसे शुरू भी मैंने कहा कि बीजेपी को बहुत ज्यादा का डैमेज हुआ।
Okay, I need to take a very short break. On the other side, we're going to bring you more numbers and we're going to look at a couple of other aspects as well. Congress's performances, RJD's choice to give them more seats, less seats, and of course some of the other parties which are in the fray and left's performance. All of that will be discussed. Stay with me here on this special broadcast. More poll projections lined up for you on the other side. Well, while we were in a break and you were watching some of those commercials, there was a heated and very passionate conversation happening in our studios. So I'm not going to break their momentum here and I'm going to just get back into that conversation. Vinay's comments about Nitish's handling of the migrants crisis, the delay in response and how that damage actually just continued is what triggered this debate. Sanjay, you were making a point. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Vinay very beautifully articulated his points. I agree with some of them. 2 in particular. A, about Chirag. See, what actually happened, whether something transpired between Chirag and between BJP leadership, nobody is sure about it. But what is most important in politics is about perception. If a perception is built that there is some kind of equation between BJP and Chirag Paswan, and therefore these people are moving to Chirag Paswan's party as BJP is rebuilt. And unfortunately for BJP, till such time Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah says something, counters or otherwise, then till then the message does not reach public people at large. In this case, I think JP Nadda, Bhupendra Yadav, Sushil Modi, Prakash Javadekar and several other leaders commented about it कि वोट कट हुआ है, उसको वोट नहीं देना चाहिए. But that message did not reach where it was intended to reach, the manner and fashion in which it should have reached. The second point, which when I was talking about emotional aspect of that reverse migration, and there he was also talking about that huge gathering which happened at Anand Vihar bus terminus in Delhi. See, when that was happening, Nitish Kumar and also the central leadership knew that Bihar elections were going to be very close. And I, as student of politics, was generally aghast as not to see one sympathetic line from anybody. Of course, that was lockdown period. And in contrast to Nitish Kumar, Yogi Adityanath scored tremendously with his people. The way he evacuated all those over lakh people from Anand Vihar bus terminus and Gazipur. He sent buses,
also Kota.
And also Kota. And then you actually, people invest their whole lot of emotions. They uproot from their villages, go to urban areas to earn something and send that back to their home.
Correct.
In this particular case, that emotional, that physical, that mental, that economic, everything was coming back to them.
And at some point, when 32 lakh of these migrants went back home, for those, the journey and the stay there.
What happens, Tanvi, this is not only 32, this one person connects to 5 other persons. This is a kinship related migration.
Correct.
One person moves with another person, then another person.
There is one other emotional thing that I wanted to draw out, and I mean, both Tuhin and Sanjay can then disagree with me on that, but I tell you, there is this migration is not the only emotional issue. And I'm surprised somebody like Nitish Kumar, who's been, who's been in Bihar as a Bihar leader all the time. He's served in Delhi, but he's been in Bihar quite a lot. The 1990s liberalization that began in India, the effect of the liberalization of the early 90s, mid 90s, the benefits of them have been accrued by the large cities in every part of India except Bihar, which is one big reason why migration has happened outbound.
Correct.
The bulk of the Bihari residents are serving either Punjab in its agricultural farms, or they're serving the service sector in Bombay or in Delhi, or now in down south as well.
Yeah.
So the fruits of liberalization
in the interiors of Kerala, in the interiors of Tamil Nadu, they're all there.
So they already have an emotional worry that I've had to leave my state, and I am in that sense beneficiary of the liberalization, but in an indirect fashion.
Correct.
The industrialization didn't happen in Bihar, right? They did not benefit from that at all. So already, and they have had to work twice as hard as the other people say in bigger cities to actually earn their living. And I must say that the people in Bihar are probably the hardest working community that I know. I mean, they really work hard. You see people in Bombay or in Delhi or anywhere else, they really work hard. That is already a bit of an emotional issue for them. I mean, the fact that I said this in the morning, that 1978 film Khatta Meeta had a song called Thoda Hai, Thode Ki Zarurat Hai, because Biharis are very fatalistic and they probably are happy with just a little bit also. They haven't complained as much. The fact of the matter is they were left out of the liberalization dream and the benefits of it. For those people to now literally get kicked out of their Karm Bhumi also, with landlords throwing them out of the homes and employers removing them from the jobs, Mr. Nitish Kumar missed the trick.
But so here is my question.
I agree with you. Why did you say that? May I disagree? I agree 100% with you.
Okay, let me take this point to Narendra, who's missing out on all the conversation within the studio. But Narendra, to your mind, how did the migrant crisis play out for Nitish Kumar? जो ये सारी problems हैं, जो struggle हुआ, जो उन्होंने feel किया, देखा और वापस बिहार में जाने के बाद feel किया, क्या वो उसके लिए नीतीश को blame करते हैं?
ग्राउंड पे माइग्रेंट क्राइसिस एंड द जॉब इश्यूज, उसको बिहार में मैंने दूसरे हिसाब से देखा। जो एनडीए का और खास करके नीतीश एंड बीजेपी का जो बैंकिंग था, जिससे अब बिहार एक तरह से एक ऐसा स्टेट है जो आरजेडी सिंस 1995 आरजेडी ने अपने दम पे मुस्लिम यादव का जो मेजर बंच होता है, उसके अलावा उसको सिंगल पेनी वोट नहीं मिला है आज तक। 2015 में पहली बार उसको तब मिला अति पिछड़ा का वोट जब नीतीश उसके साथ है, तो वो नीतीश का अपना वो अर्न किया हुआ वोट था। तो आरजेडी के पास एक वोट भी नहीं था, जो आप 26-27% का है, और ये कांग्रेस लेफ्ट मिलके 4-5%। अगर आप जो वोट शेयर्स आ रहे हैं, सीट्स छोड़ दें, इन एवरी एग्जिट पोल आरजेडी ब्रीचिंग 40% मार्क, 40% वोट। ये जो 10% है, जो माइग्रेंट क्राइसिस और जो जॉब है, अब अगर बिहार की जो सोसाइटी समझता है तो जो 95 से लेकर इस 2020 तक आप इमेजिन नहीं कर सकते थे कि किसी गांव में अपर कास्ट विल इवन कंसीडर टू टॉक अबाउट द आरजेडी एज अ ऑप्शन, और इस इलेक्शन में वो वोट दे रहा है। तो ये इतना बड़ा सोशल चेंज होगा। वो नीतीश एक कंफर्ट जोन में जब चले जाते हैं तो आप इतने बड़े सडन सोशल चेंज आ रहे एक इलेक्शन में हो जाएगा। अगर आपने देखा भी होगा तो लास्ट में जब वो सर्ज एम्प्लॉयमेंट इशू हुआ कि द ऑल एम्फेसिस 15 साल का जंगल राज याद आ जाएगा, बट दैट वाज टू लेट। इन लोगों को ये एसेस भी नहीं आ रहे 5 लाख 4 लाख आ जाएगा, लेकिन बिहार में जब भी आएगा तो मतलब इनके लिए वो सोच भी नहीं सकते थे कि गांव माइग्रेंट हो, अनएम्प्लॉयड हो, लेकिन जो भी हो, लेकिन वो लालू को तो वोट नहीं देगा ना वो करके। और चूंकि ट्रेडिशन भी थी 95 के बाद जितने इलेक्शन आए रिसेंट लोकसभा इलेक्शन तक, तो यहाँ पे नीतीश एक कंफर्ट जोन में रहे। नीतीश को लगा माइग्रेंट क्राइसिस है, वो टीवी में दिख रहा है, सोशल मीडिया पे हो रही है, लेकिन एट द एंड ऑफ द डे वो मेरे वोटर बन के आएंगे और आरजेडी को तो बिल्कुल वोट नहीं देंगे। तो यहाँ पे लेथार्जिक अप्रोच हो गया इनका।
इनफैक्ट मुझे लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं शायद आरजेडी को भी ये लग रहा था, और एटलीस्ट दे डिडंट थिंक दे वर रेडी, बिकॉज माइग्रेंट क्राइसिस के बाद फ्लड्स जब हो रहे थे और इलेक्शन की बातचीत चल रही थी, तो आरजेडी और पूरा महागठबंधन बहुत वोसिफरसली अपोज कर रहा था कि इलेक्शन अभी ना होल्ड किए जाए। ये गलत समय है इलेक्शन होल्ड करने का।
सीट कांग्रेस को दिए। कैन आई मेक अ लार्जर पॉइंट? सी, इन लास्ट 70 years since over 70 years since independence, there have been only 3 occasions when Bihar had stable government.
Yeah.
Say stable in the sense Congress ruled a larger part of it, but there never was a stable government, except in immediate aftermath of independence when Sri Krishna Singh and Anugrah Narayan Singh ruled the state from pre-independence to 1961 when Sri Krishna Singh died. And thereon, Rabri Lalu regime was there. People, of course, we have talked about it, the kind of Raj that was. And then Nitish Kumar is only person, goes in history as only person who has served the state as chief minister for 5 times as chief minister and for 15 years as chief minister. He had tremendous, people also had great deal of faith in him. The government was very stable. The BJP was not disturbing him in a bit, not a bit. It was like a very, very obedient younger brother. राम जी की, लक्ष्मण जी सब बात कहेंगे, वो चूंकि मतलब हिंदुत्व की भी बात होती तो वहाँ रामचंद्र जी का हिसाब किताब लक्ष्मण के साथ था. There was a tremendous opportunity for Bihar to go, the point which Vinay was making, and therefore I am taking off from there that post-liberalization for Bihar, it was actually a liberalization phase. What happened to rest of the country in 1990s and after that, it should have happened after say 2005.
After Nitish came.
After Nitish came in power. See, when you have, nothing was there. Even if you make one small bit, if you have nothing, then 10 rupees or 20 rupees could be good amount of money for you. At least you have something to have, chai and biscuit. But if you have chai and biscuit and something to eat for, then you aspire for something else. If your earning is 100 or say 1000 and lakh, and then of course percentage game starts changing. And your aspirations also start changing. Correct. So Nitish Kumar, that opportunity, I think in third term, become a wasted opportunity.
I think any which ways, in 3 terms, there tends to be even a certain comfort factor for anybody. And I am actually going to take it beyond politics to say, in any kind of profile, if you've been there for 15 long years, some amount of comfort factor comes where you become too arrogant, too comfortable, you think you are, untouchable, you've done enough, what you have given in 10 years or 15 years is way more than what the state got in 50 years, and so that should be sufficient to take you through. Maybe that, we don't know. Nitish Kumar will have to do a lot of introspection. I did want to pick up more on the point that you made about how initially BJP acted like the younger brother in the relationship, and where they may be now or after these results, even if they don't win, and that will be an interesting conversation. But I really need to take a short break because we are going to come back with lots more on the other side. The first set of projections do give a bit of an edge to the Mahagathbandhan. Definitely in the numbers and the projections, the one clear, undebatable point is that Nitish is the biggest loser in this election season. The BJP seems to have still managed very well despite the Nitish anti-incumbency factor. The gamble about LJB doesn't seem to have benefited the BJP too much. A lot more on the other side. We'll also talk about individual parties' projected strike rates. Stay with me here on The Mirror now.